again from our home offices, with the Arizona Republic newsroom still being closed. I'm Richard Rellis here with columnist Bob Robb. And right, not just because we need a haircut, but you're not in agreement with what the governor did, this sort of dimmer switch, incremental turning on the state again, stay-at-home order being extended till May 15th.
Well, he certainly didn't move the dimmer switch very much at all. He extended the shutdown for another 2 weeks and only opened up the retail sector very minorly for a small number of businesses that aren't in shopping malls and only sell goods. I wouldn't necessarily object to a gradual approach, but I do think this one's excessively conservative, given where we are and the fact that we have passed the danger for hospital beds and ICU units, which were the original stated public health objective of the total shutdown.
Yeah, there's some talk about moving the goalposts. You say that the original goal was to not keep hospitals flooded. Is it reasonable to think that we could also then change the objective to just stop new infections?
If we're doing that, we should be explicit about it. We should have ways to define when we have achieved that. But my concern is that if the requirement is going to be that regardless of how much we open, we can only open to the point that there are no increases in infections or hospitalizations or deaths, we're never going to reopen, because once you, and unless the virus just completely peters out, anytime that you permit greater economic and social interaction, there's going to be a rise in infections and hospitalizations and deaths. That's why I think the superior course of action, and one that is becoming increasingly compelling, is to instead focus on the population that we know that this presents a substantial risk to, do what we can to protect them, and let the rest of the economy sort of open up organically to the extent that businesses and people are feeling comfortable accepting the risk of potentially contracting COVID-19.
And I guess to that end, kind of something you haven't addressed in your column, but is going to be happening tomorrow. There are some businesses that are just stating they're going to reopen despite the governor's order. Is there enforcement power, do you think? Does the governor have the power to order people to shut their doors down or threaten their licenses?
I do not believe that the statutes give him the authority that he has asserted, either to require businesses to close or to require all of us to stay home, except to go on government-approved outings. And one of the problems with continuing the existing approach, in addition to there being no logical, true reopening trigger, is that it causes increasing numbers of people to want to test whether the governor indeed has the legal authority to do what he has done and purports to continue to do. I would like for, instead of it being tested that way, for the governor, who I think is well-intentioned, to turn his attention to alternatives to the shutdown and the lockdown, accepting a rebound effect, but monitoring hospitalizations and ICU units to make sure that we don't retreat in having achieved that public health objective, which is what triggered the shutdowns and the lockdowns to begin with.
Should be an interesting week. We'll see you next time at your home office, Bob.
Okay.